How's everybody doing? I said, how's everybody doing? Now, he kind of fumbled through the warning. I'll give you the proper warning yet again. So if you're a fan of the movies I've been a part of, you know they're mostly rated R. Some of the subject matter and some of the topics we talk about are kind of weird. So if you're easily offended or have young children in the audience and you don't want that long car ride home going, so what does he mean? What's wrong with snowballs, Mom? You know, or what did they do with that donkey? So if you don't want your children to hit puberty tonight, you may want to leave the room. Or if you're highly offended and you still stick around, well, you've been shit out of luck and fuck off. So
you did that much better than I did.
Yeah, I've done it a few times because I've had it where some people complain to the promoters, going like, "This is a kids show. How would you have such a vulgar person in the audience?" And they're like, or up on the stage, and they said, "Ma'am, one of his movies is called Vulgar, so you need to do your research." So I do the warning. So you've now been fair warned. Agreed? All right. So say we all. All right. Oh, wait, wrong show. So for those who are new to the Askewniverse, anyone here is like, I don't even know who this guy is on stage. There he is, the guy dressed as Jay from Jay and Silent Bob. This is just my look. Why? What are you talking about? Big round of applause. Get up, you two, Jay and Bob. Right on. Commitment. Have you seen the reboot yet? No, sir? Wait until you see it. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. So I'm going to hand it over to our moderator. Introduce yourself.
I am Dustin Caudle. I have a YouTube channel that no one cares about, and I'm here to moderate this panel right now.
Don't worry. There are millions of YouTube channels that people don't care about, so don't worry about it.
There are millions of them. Yeah.
Don't even worry about it. You have one. I don't, so you're a step ahead of me.
Well, you have a podcast and I don't. You want to talk about that?
It's not out yet, so it's kind of new. But yeah, the Ohala Rant will be coming out soon. I've been talking about it for a couple of years now. That's because I've been kind of trying to tag along with the release of a new Clerks eventually, and then that got shit canned, and then we're back on again, and then it's like, oh, we're going to do more ads too. And like, we're back on again, like, oh, wait, there's no more ads too. And it's like, I'm a little schizophrenic when it comes to releasing stuff like that. It's kind of like, being on a prom date 20 times and wondering if you're going to get laid or not. It's just a long-ass tease.
Well, do you want to start where it all started? How you got the role for Clerks?
Sure. Back in 1993, I was working out of a playhouse called the First Avenue Playhouse, which still exists today in Atlantic Highlands, New Jersey. As a matter of fact, we just, a couple of months ago, did a reading of what would have been the Clerks 3 script as a fundraiser to modernize this beloved theater that is still operating in this town, and so to get new lights, new LED lights, and new sound equipment and stuff. So I was auditioning out of that theater because Kevin, who lived a town away, decided, well, where am I going to find actors to be a part of this film I want to do? I know, let's go to the local theater where actors hang out. And so this is before the addiction of everybody having cell phones and the internet, really. So he went to the owner of the theater, said to the theater owner, hey, man, I want to do a movie here in town, and I need actors. I want to rent your place to audition at. And he was like, great. Can you call your stable of actors and let them know? So a month earlier, got the call from Joe Bagnol, who is the owner of the theater, who's also the guy who is in the store when the cat jumps on the counter and shits in a box. See, now that's a safe beginning of getting people offended. So there you go, cat shitting in a cat box. So he's the owner of the theater. He calls me up saying, Brian, these guys are shooting a movie in town in a couple of months, and they're auditioning out of our theater. You fit the age range of what the characters are looking for. It's a comedy. Come on down. I'm like, next month, I'll be there. I was working at another theater at the time doing another show. First night of auditions, come and go, which was a Sunday night. I totally forgot. Didn't go to the audition. Next Monday morning, he calls my house and says, Brian, where were you? That movie audition was going on, and I didn't see you. I'm like, oh, my God, was that last night? He goes, yeah. I'm like, there's another one tonight, right? He goes, yeah. I'm like, oh, thank you, Jesus. I'm like, all right, I'll be there. What do I need? He goes, do a monologue and then and bring a headshot. I'm like, right on. So I get there, talk to Vince Pereira, who's Kevin's good friend, who was videotaping the auditions. And I said, hey, man, how many principals, like what kind of roles are we? And like, well, we have 6 principals, but they're already cast. We're just looking for day players, customers, and things like that. Okay. Now, I had no idea what the script was. I mean, I could have been auditioning for porn for all I knew. Which, in a way, once I started reading about snowballing and stuff, I'm like, wait a minute. So did the audition. Got a call from Kevin like 2 or 3 days later to come back down to where the Leonardo Rex Center is, where he would always hang out with Brian Johnson and Walt and those guys. Had callbacks there where I read opposite Kevin the independent contractor scene of the Death Star. So I read that with him as him reading the Randall lines and me reading the Dante lines, and him saying, "So what do you think?" And I was like, "Ooh, I think it's funny. I like it. The other guy's really funny." And he's like, "You want to do it?" I'm like, "Sure." So then I was like, "So who are they in the film?" Because like I said, I had no idea what the film was about. He didn't give a synopsis really. And he goes, "Oh, well, the name of the film is called Clerks, and it's about a convenience store clerk and a video store clerk, and it's a day in the life kind of film. And you'd be one of the main clerks." I said, "Oh, these are the main guys of the film?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "When I auditioned the other night, the guy said that you had the principals already cast, and we were just auditioning for like day players." He goes, "Yeah, don't worry about that. I'll take care of that." And so I was like, "Oh, okay." So I then came back, read one more time for like a chemistry read with whoever was playing Veronica. When I walked into the room, though, it was Marilyn Gigliotti, who was the actress who I was doing the other show with in the other theater. So I was like, well, what? You're the who? And so it was like an automatic, like, yeah, we totally know each other. What on? So here we are. That's how it started.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just so you know, the guy who would have been Dante still wound up in the film. It's his good friend Ernie O'Donnell, who was Rick Derris, the weightlifter. You're out of shape, that guy. So Dante would have been like, I'm not even supposed to be here today. You know what I mean? It would have been more of a tough kind of thing, I think.
Let's talk about the hockey scene on the roof. That roof looked pretty small.
It's not about the size, sir. It's how you work it.
Well, was it like uncomfortable to work up there, or was it?
Well, first of all, it's an operating convenience store, right? So all the refrigerator. Anybody been to the store in Leonardo, New Jersey, by the way? Anyone? Bueller? All right, anyway. If you ever get a trip up to New Jersey and you want to go to Red Bank to see Kevin's comic book shop, Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash, where they shot the episodes of Comic Book Men all the time. And then about 20 minutes not far from there is the actual store, the Quick Stop, still operational, still in Leonardo, still owned by the same woman, the same family. As a matter of fact, funny note, somebody is now taking over the space that was the video store, the RST video store, which is the owner's son's name, Raj. I forget what the S stands for, and the last name is Topper. So there goes a trivia question for you. So they're going to keep the RST video thing. He's going to bring in DVDs for people to rent, but also VHSs, like if people want to go retro and have VHSs, he'll also do VHS repairs and stuff. So that's hopefully going to be opening up next year at some time. And then Kevin announced not that long ago that he's going to start he's having a build out of this bigger space that's in the same block of stores, as we used to call it, where he's doing a performance space of like 80 seats to do live podcasting from there and his shows. So he'll be in Jersey to do one of his Evening With or Fat Man, Batman, whatever he's going to do out of this place. So the roof is so tiny for the operation of what's over the convenience store. And because we have refrigeration units and coolers and stuff for all the drinks and the Gatorades and whatnot, the piping and the actual refrigeration units are on the roof. So there wasn't much space to actually play a game of hockey. Like the space is probably as big as this risers are, right? With, and I imagine like PVC piping running along, going from, the cooling unit here over to going to the roof over here. So he framed it, which is great about David Klein, the DP. We framed it to make it look like we had a whole bunch of space to play the hockey game on. So it's funny, this whole weekend, at least two or three times this weekend's like, hey, we'll meet you on the roof for hockey. I'm like, why do we need to go on the roof? There's plenty of space right here in the aisle to play, man. More space than what we had for the actual game in the movie. So it was fun shooting that. And then when we finally did get the film distributed in '94, and then Miramax wanted to come in and do, bring in $1 million worth of songs from different bands and soundtracks. So we got Soul Asylum to do the song Can't Even Tell from the film. And they decided to promote the film, and that's when music videos still meant something back then. We did a music video with Soul Asylum, and Kevin directed it, where the guys from Clerks were playing hockey on the roof against the guys from Soul Asylum. So we went back up on that roof once again, and even the guys from Soul Asylum like, wait, we're supposed to play here? And these guys are from Minnesota, so they're like, this ain't fucking hockey place. What the fuck's this about? Bullshit. I have more room in my basement. So we did the video. So if you ever have the DVD and you want to watch the music video, it's really great. And I got to wear the hockey jersey I wanted to wear in the movie. Couldn't find my New York Rangers hockey jersey. It was in the laundry at my mom's house, and I couldn't fucking find it. So when I didn't want to be late. I was a professional, so we only had 2 or 3 day shoots. The whole movie was shot from 10 o'clock at night till 6 in the morning. And the few daylight scenes that you see us outside, we did it over like 2-day weekend kind of things. And so the hockey scene being one of them. So I didn't want to keep them waiting, so I left and just went down there and said, dude, he's like, oh, so you got your jersey? I'm like, I can't find it. He goes, all right, well, you have choices. You have the New Jersey Devils or the Penguins. I said, oh, what about the Russian jersey? He goes, no, that's specifically for Randall, Chaos, Russians. It makes sense. He goes, so Penguins or the Devils? I'm like, fuck the Devils, I'll take the Penguins. And so it's funny because I have such like swag in Pittsburgh's now, and I'm like, well, it has nothing to do with the fact that the team, it was just like, I couldn't find my Ranger jersey.
After a movie ends where a girl fucks a dead guy.
See, there's another warning. Any kids in the house that want to talk about fucking dead guys? Anyway, here we go.
How did you ever think that a movie ending like that would lead to a sequel?
No. I mean, the plain and simple answer. We shot it in the spring of '93. Kevin and Scott edited it in the video store, the back of the video store, and they had a big machine about half the size of this table, what's called a Steenbeck. So you'd send the raw film, the 11-minute reels of footage that we would do to Kodak or whatever studio we had at DuArt, whoever did the processing. They send it back, and he would take the raw film, put it together in this hand cranking thing, and you'd see like a monitor in front of you that had a light behind it, and then you'd see the scenes, and he'd like cut it and then tape it to another scene, and that's how editing was done back then, without computers. And so the whole summer they edited, and I didn't hear from them at all. I was exhausted from doing it. So I finally heard from him, I think it was like August, and he's like, hey, we're going to be showing the film at this film festival in New York. You should come. It'll, it's all done. We have some music to it. It'll be really cool. So I went in October to the Independent Feature Film Market, which is a film festival that doesn't even exist anymore in New York, and it was held at the Angelica Theater down in Soho. It's still existing there today off of Houston Street. And so we go there, and there's about 20 people in the audience, 12 of which of us who are in the movie. So there's like maybe 8 or 9 more other people. We see the film. It was great. It was like huge. Like wow, well, look at that. Like I can see your kidneys, especially that scene where Randall shows the porno mag to that distressed customer. So after the film, Kevin's like kind of bummed because not that many people came because we had the worst slot. It was the whole week of a film festival, and we were literally like the Sunday at 11 a.m., which is like literally the last day of the festival and one of the first films of the last day, and no one's up after partying a Saturday night kind of thing. Like, so thankfully, one person who was in that audience was a gentleman by the name of Bob Hawke, who was a film consultant, producers kind of doctor and stuff like that to help films get notoriety as they should. And he passed the word on to Amy Taubin, who was a reviewer for the Village Voice, which is a newspaper in New York City that was like an arts newspaper, like the arts newspaper to be a part of. And then she wrote an article about, or asked Kevin to send her a copy of the VHS tape, and he did, and she wrote an article about it. And then word started getting around. And then John Pearson, who's what's called like a producer's rep, like an agent for a filmmaker, who has repped Spike Lee and others, saw it and is like, oh, we should show this to the Miramax people. It's right up their alley, and Harvey Weinstein and stuff like that. He saw it in his office first 5 minutes and saw it black and white. He's like, fuck this shit, and walked out. They tried to show him again, and once they got to the cigarette rant, he's like, fuck that, because he's a big smoker. Oh, are you making fun of the cigarette industry? So then we go to Sundance. Bob Hawke then got us into Sundance. We had 4 screenings there. I went for it's a 10-day film festival. I only went for the last 5 days, so 2 screenings of it. They were sold out. All the tickets were sold out for the screening prior to the even festival starting, and that had rarely ever happened to that festival. So we were one of the first films to do that. And it was the last screening that Harvey sat through the whole thing and heard it with an audience laughing their asses off, like, well, maybe I got something here. So next thing you know, Kevin made a deal with Harvey to sell the film for $250,000. Kevin only spent $27,000 on it. So to him, it's like, we made millions. But also the good thing about it is he had a 2 more picture deal with Harvey. So they then gave Harvey's like, what do you have next? And he's like, Mallrats. And they read him like, no. So then they passed it on to Universal. And Universal said, yeah, we'll do it. And then we did that with them, and then came back with Chasing Amy for Harvey. And Harvey's like, sure, totally, let's do it. And so there you have it.
Then the View Askewniverse happened.
Right. Then now we had more than one film that that talked about characters from the previous films. So I'm like, oh, I guess that's kind of a world universe kind of thing. So it was kind of cool. And Mallrats had, we did that in Mallrats. Mallrats had the first Stan Lee cameo. So it was kind of cool that we were kind of groundbreaking in that sense.
So did you ever work at a retail store?
I worked for a fast food chicken joint, not a big chain, but an independent chain, from like the age of like 14 to like 17 or 18. And then I worked for a chain of supermarkets for like 3 or 4 more years, all the while doing theater, going to college to take theater and stuff like that. And then when I left the supermarket, I was in management already. I was like a 21-year-old guy, like training for management. And like back in 91, clearing after taxes $510 a week. And that's, I was doing really, really well. And the day I told my mom I had quit, and my mom is from Ireland, like straight off the boat, thick accent, and everything. Why the fuck would you quit a job like that for? You're never going to lose that job. People have to eat. They'll always have to have a grocery store. So it's funny because when the movie happened and I had done that, I was still working at the supermarket and actually another job, a factory job. And so what I look back in an irony was like I left a kind of supermarket clerking job and made the clerking experience I had into the movie of Clerks. So I like the movie clerk thing better than the actual clerking. No offense to anybody working in supermarkets. I know your pain. Trust me, brother. I know your pain.
All right. So you talked about Vulgar earlier. You played in that. Did your character kind of make you insane? Because like watching it kind of made me insane.
For those who haven't seen Vulgar, so if you ever watch the original Clerks, there's that animated kind of title scene that comes in where a clown comes in dressed as a clown. There's a kid playing with a ball. He goes behind a dressing screen, and then he comes out in like a bustier and fishnet stockings and high heels and stuff. So that was the logo of Kevin's company, View Askew Productions. That was actually done by Walt Flanagan. Any fans of the Tell 'em Steve Dave or the Comic Book Men series, he's part of that. Good friend, lifelong friend of Kevin Smith. So one day, Brian Johnson, also from Tell 'em Steve Dave and Comic Book Men, was in his office, looked at the logo of the big poster of Clerks, and the logo is the actual clown in the bustier and the stockings in the corner of the original poster art. And Brian Johnson said to Kevin, like, what do you think this fucking guy's story would be? And he was like, I don't know, why don't you write something about it? So then went Brian Johnson writing this very dark and twisted tale about a guy who's a party clown for kids, that you would have come in, 8-year-old, 5-year-old, hey, look, kids, it's a clown, having to do a second job, and he wants to be a party clown for adults. So the first clown was named Flappy, and the second clown was named Vulgar. And it's something that you would prank your buddy, like, who wants to do a bachelor party. I'm like, yeah, the stripper's coming. She's about to come right there, and this guy in a bustier and stuff, like, how's it going, and just fuck with people kind of thing. It was kind of a goof kind of clown thing. And so it turns into this dark, dark, dark film. It's a guy doing a regular kind of clowning gig. His first gig as the Vulgar, the clown, goes horribly wrong, and you see the repercussions of what happens to that one night. I have him actually for sale at my table. And I have the unrated version, the original version we let it go at, because they were going to give it like an NC-17 when they were going to rate it. And we're like, fuck it, we'll just release it unrated. It was a film that when it was sent to the Toronto Film Festival, we had a screening there where it's about 400 people in the audience. When it came to this very dark, dark scene, like a good 120 people went, oh my God, and left the theater at the festival, which gave us great buzz. Immediately, Lionsgate, who also picked up Dogma earlier in Kevin's career, said, we want this, we want to do it. And so we did. So now Lionsgate has packaged it, and we're putting it into certain theaters, and Brian Johnson and Kevin get to go on Howard Stern's show before he went to Sirius. He was still on free radio. And Howard Stern, they give him an advance copy. He gets to watch it the night before, 2 nights before, and then comes and been able to talk to the guest about the film. So they're on Howard Stern, and he goes, guys, I just want to say thank you for coming, Kevin. And then, Brian, I don't know what's up your head, but okay. He says, I got to tell you something, man. I watched the film, and I had to stop it halfway. Not because it's not a good film, because it's just really fucking disturbing. And so it was like the best thing. You know how movies have their ads with their best quotes from like New York Times says, great and exhilarating, 2 thumbs up from Siskel and Ebert. Ours was like, oh my God, a film so disturbing, Howard Stern couldn't finish it. So it was this great kind of like, yeah, we fucking shook Howard Stern, this is awesome. But it was very dark. And so then when it came to the time of putting it out to the rental market, because when movies were still rental, kids, ask your parents what rental market was about movies. You would go and have to return each movie VHS copy. So when Blockbuster was still around, they never took, and Hollywood Video, they never took anything higher than an R rating, and this was an unrated film. So Brian had to go in and do a rated R cut for them, which took out a lot of certain things that really make it what it is. So anybody who has the rated R version, there is an unrated version. That's the much better personal copy. I have copies of the unrated at my table. But it was definitely a dark and disturbing film. People who have seen it who come to me like, dude, what were you guys thinking? And I'm like, so you liked it, huh? It's not a Thanksgiving movie like after the tryptophan starts kicking in. Like, let's just put on something. It's not like, hey, kids, we've unwrapped the gifts. Now let's watch this. It's definitely not a first date movie. Your date runs out of the room like, oh, my God, he's into this twisted, sadistic shit. But that all being said, Brian Johnson is serious about doing a Vulgar 2 that takes place 25 years after. So he did one version of the script about 2 years ago. Wasn't really enthused about it. And then I saw him about a year ago or so. We were at one of these other cons, and he's like, hey, I'm getting rid of that first draft that I did. What do you think if this happened instead? And he told me the pitch for it, and I'm like, wow, this is perfect in the climate that we're in and what's going on, and this is genius. He's like, all right. And I was like, so let me know if you want to get together, because I live 2 hours away from where Red Bank is. And I was like, I'll come down, I'll stay at my mother's, who only lives a half an hour from Red Bank, and I'll come in and we can collaborate whenever you want. He's like, okay. Didn't hear from him. I'd see him at different events, didn't hear from him. So everybody keeps coming up like, what's going on with Vulgar 2? I'm like, well, Brian Johnson just recently got engaged, if anybody follows him on Instagram and Twitter. So I'm like, he's in fucking love. He doesn't want to talk about dark, twisted movies right now. I said, give him after the holidays, but then start tweeting the shit out of him. Like, what's going on with Vulgar 2, Brian Johnson? O'Halloran says you're all about the pussy now. Why don't you get on the clown stick instead? You can say that, quote me. You don't have a...
So Marco Rudy said you were a fabulous singer. That's a direct quote.
Really?
So you want to sing a little something for us?
What the fuck? I bought my own drinks, and now you're asking me to sing? Usually that's a different type of date, my friend.
No, but where'd you get your singing voice from?
Well, I was a musical theater kid. So I did musicals, and plus I'm from an Irish family. When we drink, we sing, and then we cry, and then we beat each other with our shillelaghs. You know, you get in there like, oh, come on, Brian, sing us a song. Come on, you got the voice of an angel. Come on, give us a little Danny boy. Oh, Danny boy, the pipes are lovely. Oh, the pipes are... No, shut up and get out of the room. That was Christmas all over again. Yeah, what they used to have a party here that used to have karaoke. The DJ that they usually have for these had a different event booked, unfortunately, so he's not the DJ that normally does the karaoke here. But yeah, I usually break out karaoke. One of my go-to songs is do we have any Black Sabbath fans in the audience? All right. So I'll give you one bar. Generals gathered in their masses, just like witches at black masses.
Hey, give it up for that. Yeah. Beautiful. He wasn't lying.
I wasn't. I do like Radiohead's Creep. It's another one. Awesome. You know. Yeah. So tons of really fun stuff. I'll do Piano Man. Sing us a song, you're the Piano Man. That's a good end of the night where everybody's loaded drunk, and you have a beer in your hand, and you're like, you know, sing us a song, you're the Piano Man. Sing us a song tonight, and everybody's like on there, so yeah, sing it, Brian. We're all in the mood for a melody.
So you've talked a bit about traditional theater. I know
actual theater.
Something that you push a lot, that you're a big proponent for. You want to talk a bit about it?
The live arts, man. You got to keep the live arts around. You know what I mean? Support your local theater groups. Because public schools are shutting down arts programs all the time. Music programs get shut down. Drama clubs get shut down. If you have a fabulous fucking football team, they get all the money, which is great. I love kids playing football. I love kids playing basketball. But there's a lot of us who are not sports inclined. Like, I think 98% of the people in this building are not really sports inclined. Let's be honest. You can totally roll for initiative. You got that wrist roll down. You probably have thumbs that could break through a safe. I get it. But we're not really the fucking, hey, jump shot type of, and I'm one of them, so I'm not throwing any shade. I'm totally under that shade. I'm probably casting shade, actually, from other people's shade. But I talk about this to different chambers of commerce and stuff like that because businessmen will come in and businesswomen and stuff, and people are like, well, you know, what do you think? I'm like, you guys got to invest back into the arts. And the reason is because y'all walked in today, and I see you're all beautifully dressed. That's an artistic choice. You learned about color coordination, your shoes matching your purse, your jacket matching your shirt, things like that, makeup on your face. That is an artistic choice. That's something you learned from either Sesame Street, Zoom, or you had a really great art teacher back in the day, or you had highlights that showed you things. That's why comics are a definite must to have. Comics are the best thing you can give a child. First of all, they're not looking at a screen. They're looking at a physical book. People physically drew that. It's telling you how to write a storyline. It's teaching you morality, evil versus, good. It's teaching you about if storylines go on from issue to issue, about a continuous storyline. It's giving you symmetry. It's giving you contrast. It's giving you heroes to wish to be, to get yourself up to emulate. Like, I really love Captain America. That kind of thing. So you got to fund these arts. Give these kids, the shit that they need to get things done because we're just struggling to talk about what we want to do. I don't know why I'm crying. It's the beer. But it's that type of thing, that denial of giving an artistic outlet. That's what shootings happen. The picking on people. It's stuff like, fuck, dude. I got really dark really quick. That was weird. Anyway, so you got to support the arts, otherwise people shoot up schools. I don't know. Maybe that was my message. No, don't shoot up schools. It's not cool. But do get rid of the guns. They're just awful. Like the big guns. I don't mind hunters, and I don't mind sport fishermen and sport gunners and stuff like that. But the assault weapons, like, what the fuck, dude? I like to see it in screens and movies and SWAT teams, but I don't need it. I don't need a kid being shot up in a class. So that's why the arts are important in any sense. Music, same thing. It's an outlet. It's a way to express yourself without the oppression or repression of what life throws you. We get stepped on in many different reasons all the time. When you sit in traffic, you turn on the radio to hear a song because it soothes you to get through traffic, so you're not like, fucking, do you see I'm ahead of you, sir? Why are you trying to move in on my lane? God. Or the people who don't signal. Oh, my God, the people who don't signal. Sometimes I'll get them like, hi, I think your car is broken. Yeah, you got to check the signal thing. I think it's not working, sir. Or the people who have a fender bender and then stay in the spot where literally a bumper tapped another bumper and the guy's like, oh, they're not going to draw a chalk outline of your car and their car. Just take it over to the shoulder. It's not a murder scene. Don't you hate that? When you're like, why are we holding up? I'm like, really? That's why we're all stuck in 2 hours worth of traffic because you guys can't pull over to the side? Or the construction that is happening that not really is happening? 20 guys just staring at each other going, yeah, blah, blah. Cones are everywhere. Everybody's merging to one lane. There's the yellow arrow pointing you. And well, what are they building? I see 20 guys and not one of them with a fucking jackhammer in their hand. What's going on? What is this? Or here's another thing that pissed me off. 20 aisles of cash registers in a supermarket. How many cash attendants are there? 2. Okay, right? So you think they have 20 aisles of cash registers, right? What's the day, let's say Walmart, what's the day you think that's where every fucking register is going to be manned? The week before Christmas, right? Nope. Same thing with supermarkets. You think the days before Thanksgiving, the day where you're going to eat the most food ever, they'll have every person. Nope. I'm like, are these other registers there just to hold the fresh candy that they have out there in the magazines? Do you ever notice that when you can't find what you're looking for in the candy aisle? So you go to the 10 different other unmanned aisles, oh, there they are. Charleston Chew, here we go. Or the magazine, they're like, well, no, I want the one that has, what's her name on it? I heard she got fat. Wow, but she's still famous, so I'm still a loser.
All right, I just got one more question before we can open up to the floor.
Yeah, right on.
All right, what can you tell us about Clerks 3, if anything?
It's been announced. Yay! The value of that announcement is the same value of the announcement that I'm dating Jennifer Aniston. I can announce it. If you're hearing, hey. My girlfriend's even cool with it. I think you're on her top 5 list too, just so you know. Yeah, he's announced it. Jeff and him had talked at a private signing event that happened in L.A. that ZSC Entertainment, my agency group, and another autograph company called Lilu Multiprops put together. And Jeff has agreed to look at it and try to come back to doing it again. But once again, that's great. Kevin's on the road right now with Jay and Silent Bob Reboot Tour. He stops at the end of this month, and they take December off to have holidays and family. And then they pick it up again in January. So I think in December, Kevin's probably going to write the script by then. Hopefully we'll have it in our hands by March or so, and then we still have to negotiate with whoever he gets to produce it, and that's where things broke down last time. So hopefully we can get over that hurdle. I think we will be able to, and I know that here's another thing, that ZSC Entertainment, who represents myself, Jason Mewes, and a bunch of other guests here who was at the convention, have now signed Jeff Anderson to come and do conventions. Yeah. But be quiet. Don't spook him. He's a bit of a deer in the headlights to this whole thing. It's kind of like years ago in 2009 when I started doing conventions regularly, I would have convention promoters say, hey, do you think Jeff would want to do it? I'd email him, hey, Jeff, this promoter of such and such a show would love to have you. They would probably guarantee maybe you can make this amount of money at the show, blah, blah, blah. No, man, I'm not really interested in doing that. Then a couple of months later, another show, once again, another promoter. I did this like 5 times to the point where the last time over a 5 or 6 month period, he goes, hey, man, don't take this personally, but I would never want to do one of those. It's not my kind of thing. Okay. And then I would say that to different, I'm like, dude, trust me. I have to be tagged with the guy who doesn't want to be in a crowd. You know what it is? Like the guy in the movie says, hey, I love people, but I hate, or I love gatherings, but I hate people. I think that's a true statement when it comes to him. So when Meggie at ZSC really worked a year and a half on him to no, it'd be good. Let me show you some examples of what we can do and blah, blah, blah. So we have a commitment from 4 shows right now. We haven't announced it because it's up to the show to announce. But they're really good shows that he'll be, I think there'll be some that y'all can get to at some point. And that'll be starting the beginning of next year. So we're gonna keep him like a baby in a fucking stroller and a bouncy castle, kind of happy. Like, what do you need, Jeff? Because we want to make sure that you, the fans, because I know you guys, how much you guys love us and how much you love him especially, and Jay and Kevin. We want to make sure it's the right experience for everybody. So keep on the lookout. If you want to follow zscentertainment.com or ZSC Entertain on Twitter, ZSC Entertainment on Instagram. They'll be making announcements as to where we'll be, but I'm working with them to package some really fucking cool fan interactive stuff at these cons. So be on the lookout for that.
All right, let's get some questions from the audience.
Right on.
If you want to line up down here,
Line
if
'em
you
up.
have some questions. All right, you'll be first. You jumped up here fast. What's your name?
My name's Dylan.
Hey, Dylan. Everybody. Hi, Dylan. We're gonna make this like AA. Come on.
Fuck. My question was when you're working with Kevin, is it more like a bro thing, or is he like a super serious director guy when he gets behind the camera type shit?
The question was, how is it working with Kevin? Is it like a bro thing, or is it super serious? You know what it is? It's because we've worked together from literally the very beginning of each other's film career. We go a long way back. And so I always consider it as a summer camp. Now, my parents could never afford for me to send me away to a summer camp, but this is what I always imagined summer camp to be without someone being slaughtered and killed and diced into pieces. Not that kind of camp. But the type of camp that, a whole bunch of kids from like many different schools would come together for like 4 weeks and build fucking crazy bracelets and whatever and do the little camp play and whatever. And we have a great time, and then the movie's done filming, and then we all go back to our own schools again. It's always a lot of fun, and that's my guard dog. Don't worry about it. It's always a blast. Kevin is Kevin. What you see Kevin when he does his evenings with, or when you see him on the Jay and Bob tour, that's pretty much him. He's a really smooth, chill kind of guy. I mean, his herbal supplement plan has really kept him really chill. And it's always fun, and I always get together. When we got together this past March to shoot Reboot down in New Orleans, it was just, first of all, it was spooky seeing the actual Quick Stop rebuilt down in New Orleans. I was like, it's so weird. Like, even the real tree is the exact same space where the real tree at the thing was. So It's always a blast, and I always look forward to working with Kevin. And I look forward to hopefully next year working on a new Clerks 3. Cool. Thanks for the question, Dylan.
All right, what's your name?
Johnny.
Johnny, what's your question?
What's up, Johnny?
Yes.
Hi, Johnny. There we go. It's to keep you awake, too, just so you know, people. It's warm in the room. It's going to make you sleep.
So my question is, Kevin was just on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Right on.
If you were sitting inside that room with everyone watching, with Joe Rogan's massive audience, what would you be talking about in that interview?
So what would I talk about while Kevin's in the room on the Joe Rogan?
Yes.
Or Kevin out of the room?
Yeah, in the interview with everyone watching, what would you talk about?
I didn't hear the interview with Joe Rogan. I like Joe Rogan. I think he's hilarious. I think he's very edgy with his comedy especially, but he speaks truth to a lot of people who don't want to hear truth. And so I'd have to be on the spot. And those guys were herbal supplementing their interview as well. So I don't know what would come out of my mouth after some kind of inoculation, I guess. But I'm a big fan, and when I follow his MMA interviews are always hilarious because I'm like, he's a comedian, but he's doing these very serious guys that are coming out of the ring after like their nose are broken into 29 places, and like, so what do you think went wrong in the ring? It's just like, wow, Joe, you got some nerve asking that question, sir. His nose is here, and here right now, and you want to know what went wrong. I think it was the nose breaking into 20 pieces that went wrong. I don't know. Both those guys are really great comics, and I probably would talk more about their stand-up careers than anything because they are really good stand-ups at all. And I know that Joe gets heat from sometimes of the material he does, but you know what? Once again, he sticks by his gun. He doesn't change his comedy to conform to people's pearl clutching. He doesn't give a fuck. And as a filmmaker, Kevin as well, we don't really give a fuck about this is what we do. Are there things that he has changed that he's even commented about his own previous films that he would kind of change now going back? One of his regrets is using the word, the F word, the faggot word that comes out of Jay's mouth in the first Clerks. Like he wishes that didn't happen and stuff like that. But otherwise, things like that, you live and you learn. It was the time of I did an interview where someone's like, "What do you think about these things that people are bagging on certain films from that era and stuff, and the Me Too movement and stuff like that?" And I say, "Look, man, that was that time. Like I grew up when Porky's was around. Try to make Porky's today. Good fucking luck, dude." I mean, when people were like, "You had a donkey show," and I was like, there was an Oscar winner that had a donkey show in his movie. It was called Bachelor Fucking Party. Look it up. And that's an Oscar winner who was in that.
Thank you for your question. All right, what's your name?
Owen.
Hi, Owen.
Sorry, one of my favorite films.
It's all right. First off, I just want to say I didn't realize you were going to be in tonight.
That I was going to be what tonight?
That you were going to be in tonight.
That I'm in here tonight?
Yeah.
That I'm supposed to be here tonight
Yeah.
because I'm not even supposed to be here tonight?
Yeah.
That was a good way of putting it. That's a new way of putting it. At least you didn't just come out and say it. Are you even supposed to be here today?
Yeah.
By the way, that's going to be on my tombstone, folks. Here lies Brian O'Halloran, died whatever date it is. He's not even supposed to be here today. I mean, it'll make people chuckle as they visit my tomb.
Well, anyways, my question is, if the third Clerks movie is made,
I like the way you said if.
How do you think Dante's character is going? Is he going to continue the kind of the evolution that he started on in the second film, or is he just going to go back to being self-destructive, self-deprecating, and
What?
self-loathing?
I don't know what movies you're watching. Dante is a perfect level-headed man. He's always have two bitches always fighting over him. No, knowing what the original third script was, which was an incredibly dark script, and the growth of the Randall and Dante character in a very realistic and dark way, which we're never going to make. Hopefully one day Kevin will either put it in an animated series or maybe we can do it as a graphic novel. But it's a very dark version. And we did 2 readings of that script to raise money for that First Avenue Playhouse, which I talked about earlier. Kevin had talked about maybe taking that to 2 or 3 different cities where me and Kevin and hopefully Jeff and Jay come to a town, we book a hall or whatever, and then pull people from the audience to read the other ancillary parts. This new angle, Kevin talked about it in an interview, what he wants to do with the film. I have yet to see the script, so I don't know as the Dante and Randall characters' relationship and the relationship in general. Because remember, as we last left off with Clerks 2, Dante has gotten Becky pregnant with his hideous fucking chud of a love child. And so I assume there's a kid involved at this time, probably like around the 10 or 11-year-old type of phase. So who knows? We'll see. But your guess is as good as mine. I've heard a lot of pitches from a lot of fans. So, but in the end, it's all up to Kevin. Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, what's your name?
I'm Tim.
Hey,
Hi,
Tim.
Tim.
Jeff has directed a movie. Do you ever get the itch to? Put
Oh
yourself
no,
through that?
I am definitely going to be directing a movie in the near future. Absolutely, I'm in talks with someone right now about a project. So, yeah, it's something that I always do. And then it's funny because when I go to other film sets, I shot 3 or 4 other films this year as an actor, and sitting in my area watching other productions work and how they get together. There are times that I say to myself, oh, this could be different, or oh, we should do that. So I find myself already producing someone else's movie in my head, and it's just a natural progression to then direct. I've directed plays, but to get it behind the camera, so to speak, is definitely in my future. But thank you for the encouragement and the question.
All right, next question. Who do we have here?
James,
Hey, James.
Hi, James.
There you go.
probably a short answer to the question, but
No. Next question. I'm kidding.
What do you feel about Kevin Smith's daughter using your little catchphrase in Yoga Hosers, if you've seen it?
Oh, I was like, some bitch owes me money. No. I thought it was adorable. And the fact that it was his daughter doing it was just like, aw, brought a little like lump to the throat. Like, wow. Yeah, anybody who hasn't seen Yoga Hosers, so Kevin's daughter, Harley Quinn, who's also the star, one of the co-stars of Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, her character in the movie, there's a whole big situation going on in the Canadian convenience store. It's like, God damn it, I'm not even supposed to be here today. And like that Family Guy episode, it's like, ah. But yeah, thank you.
All right.
What's up,
Who do
Becky?
we have here?
I'm kidding.
April.
April.
Hi, April.
Personal question.
Sure.
Out of all the comic books that you've read, which is your favorite character, your favorite comic?
Is it Tetsuo from Akira? Is that the lead?
I think so.
Yeah, Tetsuo. So troubled,
Yeah.
yet with such immense power in him. I think, and his friends trying to help him out.
Yeah.
That as a teenager, that just struck me. Otherwise, when it comes to the superhero world, because that's not a superhero movie when you think about it. I love the struggle that Batman has gone through, and I love the different edits and versions and stuff. Like even the new Joker, I just loved. And I am not a Joaquin Phoenix fan in the sense like I think he's awful, but I'm just like, oh, it's Joaquin Phoenix, I gotta go see it. I'm not that guy. Like I loved him in Gladiator because I got to hate him. I was like, what a douche. Want to make out with his sister too, like weird. And I know it's based on history and stuff like that, but at the same time, it was such a great film in a sense. Like, yeah, man, it's dark. Let's look at our society this way. Like, yeah, he's twisted, he was awful, he's wrong, but at the same time, look what society did to him as well. I mean, there was a lot of comparisons for those who have seen Vulgar. I got a lot of things on Twitter like, dude, this story of the new Joker and Vulgar are weirdly, especially the beginning of Vulgar and the beginning of are really similar. Someone owes you a fucking check. No, I'm just kidding.
I think.
Thank you.
All right, what's your name?
I'm Kurt.
Kurt, with the purple,
Hi,
with the lavender
Kurt.
beard. I love it.
So first of all, I wanted to say thank you for the shout out for local theater. In the last couple of years, I've gotten re-involved in my community theater locally in
Right
my
on, man.
hometown, and man, we need the support because that is what keeps it going.
But that's also where the talent is grown. That's where our dues are paid. I've done dozens of plays for nothing. Cost me my gas down there, time with family, things like that, to put on shows for people, and without getting paid a lot of the times, where it's just the money goes to keep the lights on, the lights to keep food coming into the theater, just to support the building and the property taxes and all that stuff. So that's why I think the arts need that kind of break. I mean, Ireland has it right. If you're an artist in Ireland, you don't pay income tax. How awesome. That's why Bono and U2, those guys can fucking throw money around, because they don't get taxed on it, bro. Like you can, and that's what a culture does to bring more culture. Give them that leg up, dude. You know, Detroit did it not too long ago. Downtown area, not so much, but the outskirts of Detroit was getting into this kind of like really bad situation. So what did they do? They said, we're going to give houses to artists and teachers. All you have to do is start paying the property taxes and keep the upkeep of the neighborhood. And fucking people were applying left and right. You just got to move to Detroit and survive Detroit winters, which it's kind of tough, dude. It's like Hoth cold kind of up there, you know what I mean? Like, you better have a tauntaun on supply. That's how cold it gets in Detroit sometimes. Plus, some parts are kind of sketchy, and they've been tearing things down. Like, buildings were set on fire just by crazy arsonists just to do it. But they gave these houses that were really incredible Victorians that in any city would be like $4 million. But they're like, have it. Maintain it, pay your utilities, and pay us our property taxes so we can have schools again and stuff like that. And it's a good move, and it's that type of progressive thinking that I think we all need as artists. And then we have more comic books, and like you go down this artist alley. I always do. Sunday is my trip to walk artist alley and find new comics of independent artists, of independent guys. Like this is my second book ever, kind of thing, because I want to like, oh, where are we going, dude? And like this guy needs his own fucking line, because that's what it's about. It's about getting the arts, and that's why I always get enthused about these Comic-Cons growing more and having successful ones. Now, there are ones that fail and don't get it because they're run by corporations. The guys and the husband and wife team who run, and the team that surround them from Florida, these guys are fans. These guys are producers of stuff. They first find comic book artists, then they fill in the media guests, because that's what it's all about. It's about the writers and the artists who make these characters that us as actors are lucky to portray on these stages, which is always great. And that's why independent anything. Independent restaurants. No chain restaurants. Like, I'm a big fan of like, oh, so what's your local food? Like, oh, well, Fridays. No. I don't want to do Fridays down the block. There's Fridays everywhere. You know, I want to find like, what's a good, like, you know, mom and pop owned kind of great. Like, oh, you want to go to such? No, it's not in a good part of town. I'm like, that's perfect because they have low rent in a low part of town. That's why the food is good, because the money's going into the food, not upkeep of a fancy building or the flare on their fucking lapels, you know, that type of thing.
Well, I guess I need to move to Detroit because I'm a teacher too. But
there you go. I mean, that's what I'm saying. But it's towns like that, you know, support the arts. For those who have properties and pay property taxes and like, why is my property taxes go to your local meetings, man, and support the school budgets. The school budgets are just trying to educate your kids. And if they're not educated, they're going to shoot you up. And I'm just telling you in a joking way, but it's kind of true. You know what I mean? These kids need programs to keep them busy while they're out of school. And these are the type of things. Art programs, band, theater, you know, even sports teams. I'm not a sports team hater. I'm just saying they're the first that always get their money, and the arts are the last. But we're all in this building. Why? Because it's a comic con. It's an artist-based con. So support the arts. We running late?
One more question. We got time for one more
Sorry,
question.
I'm not as bad as Kevin.
Last question.
I got more. I got beyond 2 questions. If anybody's seen him live,
Make it a good one. What's your name?
Haley.
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 Right on.
Hi, I think that it's super cool that you used to do musical theater, so I was just wondering, what's your favorite musical?
That's tough because they're all really great. My favorite musical that I was a part of was a musical called Godspell. Anybody who knows it. So it's about, you know, a Jesus character and his disciples. And so I played Judas in that. Yeah, bit of a typecasting. Shocker, Bri. You, Judas? No. But, you know, 20 pieces of gold, silver is 20 pieces of silver. Yeah, so that was, there's a lot of great songs in that musical. Although, when I was a kid growing up in Sound of Music, you couldn't help but love, like, do a deer, a female deer, a drop of golden sun, me a name I call myself,
A long, long way to run.
So,
A needle pulling thread.
you didn't think it was going to end this way.
A note to follow, so.
Tea.
Drink with jam and bread.
And that will bring us to the end of this thing. There we go.
Let's give it up for Brian O'Halloran!